Hello, scholars. Today we're going to do our second lesson, or day 2, for our writer's workshop, Poetry Immersion. So remember, the whole point of our immersion weeks is really to look at a new type of writing and read it and read it and read it some more, and then really think about how is this writing different than other writing we've done? What do we notice that's specific to this genre or this type of writing that's maybe a little different than others? So as you learned before from Mrs. Barone, we are starting to do poetry. And today I have a poem for you, and I'm going to show you kind of how I would annotate it. That way you can annotate your own poem that you find and upload it to our Seesaw activity. If you don't remember how to do that, be sure to watch our playlist videos. We have one about Seesaw, how to log in, and it'll show you about the first activity. But here we go. I've selected Noisy Noisy, which is a poem by Jack Preletsky. It's noisy, noisy overhead. The birds are winging south, and every bird is opening a noisy, noisy mouth. They fill the air with loud complaint. They honk and quack and squawk. They do not feel like flying, but it's much too far to walk. So as you're annotating your poem, think, what do you notice? Maybe what's different than other types of writing? For example, I say, ooh, I noticed that this starts with a capital, but all the other ones are lowercase. Huh, that's interesting. Because look, if I look here, there's punctuation. I have some commas, but the sentence doesn't just keep going on this side like it normally would in a book. So that's an interesting noticing, right? Same here, like it ends with a comma and I go down. Wow, while I'm reading, it's noisy, noisy overhead. The birds are winging south, and every bird is opening a noisy, noisy mouth. If I scoop that, I can see like, wow, I have a scoop. It's noisy, noisy overhead. The birds are winging south, and every bird is opening a noisy, noisy mouth. So I'm noticing as I'm reading that each line is almost a scoop, or maybe two scoops, depending on where the author, Jack Preletsky in this case, put the different punctuation marks for me. Huh, that's interesting, because in books, they usually kind of keep going and going. They fill the air with loud complaint. Ooh, that's another scoop. I should kind of read that in one smooth scoop. They honk and quack and squawk. Oh, sorry about my annotating here, guys. They do not feel like flying, but it's much too far to walk. Huh, that's interesting. Each one is a scoop. I also noticed that he kind of repeats noisy, 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 noisy again. What else? Um, Flying overhead. Oh, look at this. South rhymes with mouth. If I look at the other one, I can see squawk rhymes with walk. Huh, I wonder if all poems have rhymes in them. Do they need to? That's interesting. So really, scholars, when you're annotating, it's just a way for you to show your thinking. What are you really noticing about poems? How are they different than other types of writing? This is actually a whole poem, and I think it must be about birds because it tells me here that the birds are flying south, you know? And it's saying, hey, they don't really want to fly, but it's too far to walk, so they have to fly. But they're actually being really loud or noisy as they're doing it. And you know what's interesting is that this here and this here, they're almost like a paragraph, but it's not really a paragraph. I wonder what these are called. Well, in poetry, these are called stanzas. So each stanza has a few lines and it's about part of that topic. And both the stanzas should fit together, right? It'd be really weird if up here I'm talking about birds and then all of a sudden in this poem, noisy, noisy, I'm talking about like a super quiet mouse. That might be kind of different. So really our goal this week is for you to be reading poems and more poems and enjoying this type of writing because next week we're going to start learning how to write our own poems. So what do you notice about this genre or this type of writing that we haven't really done before? I can't wait to see your noticings uploaded to Padlet. And as always, if you have any questions, please email your teacher. Thank you for listening and have fun reading different poems. Remember, you can look at different poems online, and we've also shared quite a few poems in your Epic library, so don't forget to look there.